We're in a post-OTA world. Victoria Hand has been nerfed, High Evo has been buffed, and if you want to know all the top decks and top cube rate decks so you can get out there and crush the meta, you're in the right place. Welcome to Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans Episode 3. Let's dive into all the data you need from untapped premium statistics to get out there and crush the ladder. Hey, what's up everybody? Kicker of Elves here. Hope you all are having a fantastic day. For those who celebrate, Merry Christmas. This is going live on Christmas Day. It's our special treat to y'all. It's Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans Episode 3, the weekly series where we take an unbiased, objective look at how the top-ranked players in Marvel Snap are shaping the infinite metagame using untapped premium data. We've got a couple segments that we go through. First, we're going to take a look at the top win rate decks, then move over to top cube rate decks. After that, we'll check in on the two most recent Series 5 cards, see how their performance is doing so you can have an informed decision whether you need to pick them up or be on the lookout for them. Then we're going to check in on our two Season Pass cards, and then cap things off with our viewer card of the week. For the viewer card of the week, please leave a comment below in the video. Let me know which card you want me to check out in this data set, and the comment with the most likes will be featured in next week's video. I just want to say, if you've been enjoying the content, if you've been enjoying the deck guides, all the stuff I've been putting out, please hit that subscribe button. It helps so much. We are getting so close to our 1,000 subscriber goal, which is going to let us join the Marvel Snap Creator Program. Pretty much been a dream of mine these past 3 years, and making content with y'all for the past 2 months has just brought us super close to that goal. So thanks so much for the support. Hit that sub button, really means a lot. If you're already subscribed, thanks so much. Leave a comment, like the video, make a sign and share it on the street saying subscribe to Kicker of Elves. You don't have to do that last part, but you get what I mean. And then anyway, back on track. Very end of the video, we have a little closing segment for the real ones to stick around. Just a little bit of Kicker of Elves lore. So if you're into that, stick around till the end. Without further ado, let's take a look at the top win rate decks in the game. We just had an OTA that came out like a couple days ago, so I'm looking at the past 7 days versus the latest patch just so we have a bit more of a sample size. And these are top win rate decks, infinite only with pool 3+ filtering, so we're not looking at like, it's pretty easy if you start at like pool 1, for example, you're like collection level 200 and you're good at card games to get infinite, so this helps that out a little bit. Gotta say I'm surprised at what seeing as the top win rate deck. It's not by a lot, but it is technically this High Evo shell. In the most recent OTA, cards like Misty Knight and the Hulk got buffed, and this kind of hybrid High Evo shell, which is bringing cards like Warlock, Herbie, and Superior Spider-Man. I myself have not played this. I haven't seen a ton of High Evo. I imagine we'll see a lot more of it during the February season when we get the Star-Lord, Lord of the Sun, King of the Sun, whatever it's called. There's a lot of High Evo support cards coming out, but this deck does look legit. The Agony, definitely a little bit of a weird choice, and I've got to say, it is curious seeing stuff like Warlock, the Superior Spider-Man to accelerate your energy so you can play out She-Hulk and Evolved Hulk on turn 6. This is a pretty cool cook. I will say immediately, to the even though this is number 2 with a 58.1 win rate versus 58.8, the War Machine ramp list over here, they're just calling it War Machine, but this is our classic chamber ramp, the list that has evolved to remove Eson but keep cards like Valentina and keep our tech cards with Cosmic Ghost Rider and Legion. This is absolutely a better version of the deck to come through. I would strongly recommend you check out this ramp list if you're looking for a list to climb. But these High Evo cards are a lot cheaper, I guess, except for like Herbie, Superior Spider-Man, Warlock. Either of these are fine picks, but I have a lot more experience with the War Machine list, and that is certainly a better one at a slightly lesser win rate and cube rate. Going down to a couple others here, this list, which I believe was created by Honifer, I have not tried this out yet, but this is just like a super teched out, almost a 58% win rate, decent cube rate. This is very much on the rise. You've got the Stardust, you've got the Malekith. We are cramming a bunch of tech cards in here with our Shadow King, with our Stardust, with our Electra to maybe hit somebody else's Sunspot or Ebony Maw, for example. It's a pretty interesting list. I think if you've got these cards, very much worth checking out. I think the only thing that could be strange is it might be a little awkward with the Malekith. Like, you don't want to hit Iron Patriot, you don't want to hit Cable, you don't want to hit Electra necessarily. If you're pulling a Lizard, Luke Cage, or Hydra Bob, though, that's pretty good value on the Malekith. Anti-Venom with Luke Cage timeless combination there. What that does is let you get the anti-venom card for 0 cost, but it gets to maintain his power. Very cool list. And last one that I'll talk about here is, it's called Adamantium, but this is really a fastball special list. 56% win rate, good cube rate. This is going to continue to get more and more popular as people get access to the fastball special card that is still pretty new. But as more people power through the game mode, this is a super, super legitimate deck. I recommend that you check out the video on the channel from a few days ago. We did an in-depth deck guide on this very list. The only shift that we had made is because we were following Smiles over at Snap Academy YouTube's list, is we had swapped out what is Wong here for Aranya. Aranya gives us a little bit better tech for if we have to do an Arnim Zola playline, we can use Aranya to move the card that we buff with Shuri into its own solo location, so you have a guaranteed hit with the Arnim Zola. But this list is fantastic. I'm really happy. If you've been following the show the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about how Adamantium Infusion was underperforming, but that it had a chance to really bounce back and do a lot better once Fastball Special came out, and I'm just so happy that a card as cool as Adamantium Infusion on the Super Premium Season Pass is getting some proper attention now that Fastball Special is live and in the game. I do think maybe the Wong is a little bit greedy and feels like a win more card, whereas Aranya gets you some interesting tech and gets you the option to, sacrifice this version, as I'm talking this way, this version's also running Symbiote Spider-Man instead of Nico. We had the Wong and the Symbiote Spider-Man subbed out for Nico and Aranya. I know, again, this was a Smiles list. He used it to hit top 8 in the world, so I very much trust his take on it. He hates Symbiote Spider-Man. It's a fine card here, but having the Nico gives us a chance to do her Destroy and Draw 2 spell, and then having a card like Aranya, Magic, or Carnage that we can sacrifice to draw 2 and pretty much guarantee our combo is very great. So all 4 of these decks, very legitimate. I am surprised to see by the technical ranking that this High Evolutionary list is at the top right now. This is 7 days. If we go back to like a 30-day sample, we start seeing Storm War Machine Legion stuff in here, because it feels like that's been nerfed for quite some time because it just totally disappeared from the metagame. But that's why we have to be careful with these data samples and filters. All 4 of these decks look to be very fine lists. I don't have any personal experience with again, I think this is a Honifer or Safety Blade cook down here, but you'd be happy climbing with any of these. Let's go over quickly to the cube rate decks. Not a lot of change. Again, we're looking at the same filters here. Last 7 days, average cube rate. We did bring down the sample size to 250 plus games here, and Mr. Negative, I have a feeling Mr. Negative or Living Tribunal is going to be in the #1 spot for cube rate pretty much every time we check things out. And that makes sense. When you think about cube rate, what cube rate is really saying is, how do I word this? It's like your cube rate's going to be higher when your opponent is unfamiliar with your output. If somebody's cope staying after you play a Mr. Negative and then Jane Foster, they're thinking, maybe they drew their Iron Man and their Null and stuff before, so they don't have a big Jane pop off. They almost always do, so Mr. Negative has that potential to just explode and have a ton of power output. This same High Evolutionary deck that was the #1 win rate, also really pushing it on the cubes. Again, this is High Evo has not been seen for some time, so this just might be a situation where, again, because of the Warlock play, if you're activating Warlock on turn 5 and just fully skipping the turn, and you already have Superior Spider-Man on the board, you're already at base going to be able to play She-Hulk and regular Evolved Hulk, and then you can sneak in a Juggernaut maybe if you're decreasing Evolved Hulk by a couple. There's so much power potential here. I'm probably going to go check this out after the video, because it does look to be pretty cool, and I would love for High Evo to be good again. That I think when High Evo is in a good place, it's really great for the game, because that is very much a card where a newer player can pick that up and have a whole new legitimate deck archetype unlocked for them. Love to see it. Zombie Galacti with a Galacti, whatever, with a pretty decent cube rate here. Zombie Galacti is very much like a Mr. Negative, but I'm surprised to see it on the cube rate, just because Zombie Galacti shows what cards are going to transform. And if you've played a Gwenpool and then have a Wong Shuri location set up, your opponent should probably know to dip if you're staying in the game, because This list is not like, this doesn't look like a list that's going to limp through games if you don't draw Zombie Galacti. This looks very much all in, but there it is. If you picked up that card and want to try some Galacti action, you've got Maverick. Totally a place to check things out. Tribunal, like I said, Tribunal is always going to be one of those very powerful cube rate decks. You are all in on this game plan. I really do disagree with the Howard the Duck placement here. This is just going too into like, oh, I need to target my Iron Lad perfectly. Probably wouldn't recommend that. You should get a Prodigy in here as well, because if you have additional ways to double the Onslaught, that's just giving you way more consistency to win. But yeah, no major surprises. Tribunal and Negative being in here is huge. I say no major surprises. Having a High Evolutionary list and a Zombie Galacti list this high in the cube rate pool is definitely a surprise. Pretty interesting stuff. With that, let's take a look at last week's Series 5 card. In the first 2 episodes, we just looked at the current week's episode, but when we are recording this, we don't have a ton of data on the newly released card. So I want to start looking at last week's card too and just see how they're bearing out. Last week, Maverick came out, and Maverick, even though it is at a 14% popularity, we're looking at data from the last 7 days, again, same pool 3+, infinite only, and almost a 14% meta share, but we're looking at just 49% win rate. That's really not great in an average of minus 0.01 cubes. So based on this data, you're losing cubes by having Maverick in your deck. I still think Maverick might be card of the month long term, but he has released into a meta that is so hostile to him, and he is so at face value very strong. Think about it. What are the 2 most premier tech cards in the game right now? Shadow King, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Ramp is a very popular deck. Cosmic Ghost Rider shuts down, or Cosmic Ghost Rider is being run on those ramp lists. That shuts down a Jocasta location that's trying to do Prodigy pop-offs immediately. There's no recovering from that. Shadow King is everywhere. Shadow King is run in other Maverick decks. Shadow King is being run in the Sizer, Werewolf by Night, Century and Nihilist sort of stuff. So there's a lot of hate towards Maverick right now, but I think this is going to age and get much better over time, not unlike a Victoria hand. Our latest Series 5 card that released at the time of recording this just about a day ago was Aurora, and she is in an even worse spot than Maverick, a 48.5% win rate, just about 4% popularity. With Maverick, there was a ton of hype going into it, so I bet a lot more people picked that card up, and she's at a minus 0.1 cubes. Not surprised. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I really wish we lived in the world where Aurora was the top card of the month. I wish we said Aurora is amazing and it made Thanos great again, and we've got Professor X Thanos is back, baby. Aurora enabled it. But that's just not the world we're living in. I put out my review for Aurora yesterday. I think she's pretty good. She's like a 3.5. And I'm probably rating her higher because I love and I've always loved Thanos decks, and she is very much a Thanos card. But in the early day of her release, I'm not surprised to see her underperforming. I wonder if this is a buff candidate. I wonder if people just need to refine the list more. Suffice it to say, this is not a card I think you should go out and get. Whereas Maverick, on the other hand, I think once we get away from Cosmic Ghost Rider and Shadow King being everywhere, this card is going to continue to get better, and it's already still pretty dang good. Yeah. Let's go check out our season pass cards now. We're taking a peek at Weapon X Wolverine. I cannot believe this card didn't get buffed in the most recent OTA. I wonder if their internal data shows that this card is doing fantastic for people very early on in their collection level. Like if this card's excellent if you're in Pool 1, Pool 2, because when we're looking at Infinite in Pool 3, 47% win rate at a 10% popularity and a negative 0.25 cube rate. That is terrible stats. This card is doing very, very poorly. When the weekend missions pop up and I have to put him into a deck to try to get the gold back because I have the season pass, I am just dreading playing this card. Again, stunned they didn't buff this card. I don't know what data they have that suggests that this is doing really well, but it must be doing something. It's got to get buffed in the new year. Yeah, just thinking about Weapon X over here, I'm very surprised he didn't get buff. I'm rambling a little bit here, and I've said this the past 2 weeks, but this is literally a season pass card that is a destroy scalar that is literally Wolverine, and it's underperforming like this, and they haven't touched it. Just curious what their stats say on the end. Our other season pass card, Adamantium Infusion, again, I'm looking at the last 7 days. Win rate's creeping back up. Average Q rate's there. I think this is about the same as it was, but as Fastball Special continues to get more traction, I think this card is going to get more and better. This is a card that if you're able to get Fastball Special, I absolutely recommend you picking it up. Again, this is not a Merlin or an Iron Patriot or a Gwenpool good stuff style card. If this is a card that, if you like Kid Omega decks, if you like Phoenix Force decks or Nimrod, if that style of play is appealing to you, this card is a huge buff to that sort of deck. But if you're looking at this and just being like, I don't really play those kind of decks, or, I'm not sure if that's something I want to play, you don't have to rush out for this. But if that's a style of play that appeals to you at all, again, I recommend you watch the video on the channel from Monday. We did a deck guide on the Adamantium Infusion Fastball Special list. If that sounds like something you want to do and this looks appealing, definitely pick this up. Next, let's move over to our viewer card of the week. If you want to get your card read out on the show next week, please leave a comment on this video letting me know what card you want me to check out, and the comment with the most likes will be featured. This week, the winner is from Harry Perry Snap. Before I read out what his comment was, just want to say, Harry Perry, awesome creator. If you're subscribed to me, you're probably already subbed to him, but if not, go check out his channel. He puts out some really incredible stuff. He has such good insight into the game and a good sense of humor. He's providing stuff where like his content is very like non-pretentious, but still is going to help you get a lot better at the game. A trap that a lot of creators, myself included, can fall into is when we're talking about like how to hit him and do this stuff. It can get a little bit highfalutin or a little bit just like, the reference I always use is when everybody was talking about move bounce and like top players and content creators like move bounce. It's like, that's not a real thing for 99% of the player base, frankly. Harry's content never gets into that. He is very self-aware and providing value at all levels of the game. And also just super great guy. He has helped me a lot behind the scenes with advice on like thumbnail creation and just like positioning my content. Absolutely wonderful person. Please go check out Harry Perry. Anyway, his comment said, would love Kitty Pryde to be the card of the week, specifically without zombies. Even better if it has Angela and Elsa Bloodstone. Just a card that I love to play that feels so bad right now. Yeah, Kitty Pryde really had her moment in the sun. 2023 and parts of 2024, this was like such a premier card, especially like late 2023 with Elsa Bloodstone at release. And there's a couple of lists using Kitty Pryde. Not the biggest game sample size, not the most activity going on, but this is interesting. This is kind of like a combination, not a flick, like junk list that's also doing Patriot Ultron stuff. Now I've got to say the cube rate and win rate on this is pretty fantastic, but again, when we have these decks with very small sample sizes, like 75 games, every game that's played on this list is going to have a big impact. If the next 25 matches are all losses, this deck goes down the tube. But I do like what this is doing in theory. I think there are probably some higher series adjustments that you could make to have this be better, but on its paper, pretty cool. This Infinity Ultron list features Kitty Pryde with Elsa Bloodstone and Angela as well. Again, this is the two sides of the same coin. Win rate and cube rate both terrible, but at a low sample size of 60 games, not really a lot to be gained from that. Little kind of teched out. This looks like kind of like an old school Angela list without the Angela. Again, we got the Kitty Pryde, Angela, Elsa stuff here. Decent. Kitty Pryde and a ramp list is certainly curious. You got Agamotto in there, and a lot of similar takes here. So yeah, Kitty Pryde without zombies is definitely a card that I didn't talk about this one because this looks like a Team Clash list that's in here. Kitty Pryde being featured in the Guardians list. Guardians not my favorite Team Clash list, but it is funny how it snuck in here. So yeah, that's the view on these cards on Kitty Pryde without zombies. Can it be done? Is this list the secret meta stomper out there? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll mess around with it in Conquest. So again, thank you so much for submitting the comment, Harry. If you want to get your card read out on next week's show, leave a comment below asking me what card you want me to check out, and the comment with the most likes will be featured. So in conclusion, let's kind of do the full view, what's going on in the meta right now. I think we're in a pretty good spot. I know there's been some sentiment that like combos running too wild and there needs to be more tech coming back into play. I think that's why we start seeing a deck like this Iron Patriot, this Honifer list coming back up. Kind of got two sides of the same coin where a lot of folks have stated, and I think accurately stated, like KM put this out there, that Ramp is very much a tech list now. Ramp gets to run Cosmic Ghost Rider, Enchantress, and Legion, which are all, big, impactful, expensive tech cards that we're able to run because we have Energy Cheat. This is a more dedicated tech list coming back with Electra, Shadow King, Luke Cage, Stardust stuff going on all at once. There's the Sizer lists that are running. I actually am a big fan of those, like Werewolf by Night, Merlin, Shadow King, Deafening Chord. So we've got, as much as we talk about the tech apocalypse, we're kind of looking at two sides of the same coin where we've got, here's our tech lists, here's some kind of like mid-rangey but scammy outputs of stuff like Juggernaut, and then we've got pure combo lists. So we've still got the trifecta of mid-range, combo, and tech lists coming around, just in different way. We're not seeing as much Shang-Chi, for example. I'm pretty happy with that, but let's jump over to the game client where I'm going to go over a couple of deck recommendations for you to play, so you can take things out onto the ladder, get those infinity tickets, push yourself up to infinite, all that good stuff. Let's jump right over there. Hey, we're back here to talk about some decks I recommend you playing. So let's go through a couple different lists. If you FOMO'd into Aurora, if you picked her up right away and you're like, oh God, what am I going to do with this? A couple of lists I think you could check out. This version from Heart of the Cards. This is the deck that I've had the most success with Aurora when I played her on launch day. If you did pick this card up and you're wondering how can I get some use out of her, this is my best performing list of it right now. Another Aurora list. This was cooked up by Roram Plays. He had a lot of success with this. If you are trying to get use out of Aurora, this is where I would look. But if you want to know my pick, the deck that I've been using and really enjoying, this is, I believe, is a modification of a Safety Blade list. Move and Disrupt here. I love the Merlin Werewolf, and then having both of these, the Sentry Annihilus with the Hood package and the Mercury Cannonball package has given us some big shutdown potential because we also have tech cards like Shadow King, like Deafening Chord. Sentry Annihilus with the Hood, Sentry Hood Annihilus, that's kind of a tech package. It's not necessarily like I'm blowing up your stuff, I'm turning off your ongoing cards, but you are doing a light clog package. Mercury plus Merlin, that's another combination there. Or excuse me, Mercury plus Cannonball, and then you're using 5 energy, so you can still sneak in a Demon or a Kate Bishop arrow or a Merlin skill at the end, bouncing around your Werewolf. I absolutely love this list right now. The original version had Red Guardian over Prowler, but I snuck Prowler in because I like Prowler. I've got this cool variant, and look at that, the little green fire. It looks terrible when you zoom like this, but it's cool on the board. I just wanted to have more skills to move things around, but Red Guardian's very strong too. This is a list that I've really, really been enjoying. There's been some talk about like, oh, when Xiao Lao comes out in January, we're going to get rid of the Sentry Annihilus stuff and bring that in. We'll see. I think this plays very, very well. If you are trying to get some use out of Maverick, if you picked up Maverick, this list from Smiles is, in my mind, like the new baseline for the Jocasta Surfer style decks. Maverick is great in here. Pairs well with Agony, Omega Sentinel. This is a very respectable list. Again, there is just so much hate against this. Our own, an opponent, Shadow King, can shut down our big brood play. A Cosmic Ghost Rider or a Deafening Chord, especially Cosmic Ghost Rider, absolutely obliterates our Jocasta lane. So if you're able to pick up on you're playing an opponent that doesn't have those tech cards, this card can run rampant, but even then you do have to draw in a specific order. You need to get your Jocasta copied with Prodigy and have your 2 activates in there for this to really pop off. I love Activate Surfer. It was one of the lists I used the beginning of the month to really push to infinite, and this is definitely a stronger position than it was at the beginning of the month, but there is a lot of hate towards this card right now. Let's close things out with a cool one. This list comes from Derek. This is a really cool take on what Maverick's able to do with Maverick, Fallen One, Frankie Ray Nova. I featured this in my Maverick review last week, and if you get Agony into Maverick, and you pass that Maverick buff onto Frankie Ray Nova, making her a 2/9. When you play Galactus, when you play Magneto, when you get one of those huge cards, when you play, Shuri into Fallen, once you have 10 energy on turn 6, you're able to get the 4 cost, 6 cost, and either your Galactus or your Magneto down. Very powerful power out point. This is not, there's no tech here. This is just pure points, but it is a unique non-surfer, non-activate Rube Goldberg machine take on Maverick that I think is very fun. So those are some decks I think are pretty cool to play right now. The Aurora stuff, I don't know how well positioned it is into the meta right now. The activate Surfer Maverick stuff, don't know how well positioned it is into the meta right now, but very good use of those cards. The decks I've been having the most success with are this Move and Disrupt, this Werewolf by Night list over here. Very, very powerful. And the other one that I might recommend you pick up and continue to use if you just want, like, hey, what's something very powerful, is this Fastball Specialist. Unless Professor X or Cosmo come back in a big way, Fastball Special, again, you can sub out the Aranya and the Nico for a Symbiote Spider-Man and a Wong if you want to go a bit more high rolly, but I do like the utility that Smiles has positioned using Nico and Aranya in these lists. So those are all very powerful. For those of you who have stuck around to the end, let's cut over to some Kicker of Elves lore. All right, we are here in the lore section of the video. Every week at the end of Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans, I've gone towards the wall of trinkets and stuff back here. This is, I use it now for decoration because I'm doing these videos, but I've had that little shelf set up for quite some time, just using it, my workspace when I work from home. And it's full of stuff that just, is important to me or has little stories associated with them. So today we're going to pull another thing off the wall and just have a good little chat about it to close things off and what it is, why it's important. Let's go to the wall. Be right back. Today, let's talk about a seminal city pop album, Tatsuro Yamashita's For You. I believe this is it's in the 80s, I forget when, but talk a lot about future funk, always been into that, and I got into future funk called like 2017, 2018, a lot in 2019. I was listening to that for a while, and what you realize with that is a lot of those, if you like Young Bae, if you like Macross 82, 89, Desired, all those big hitters, even like Saint Pepsi to a degree, they are sampling city pop records. And Tatsuro Yamashita is kind of like the city pop guy. I'm sure you've all heard of the song Plastic Love by Maria Takeuchi. That's his wife. He is kind of like the male equivalent, but it is very hard to find his music online. You can't really get it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Vimeo. He's not on Spotify. He's him and his label, I guess, are hardcore about like, get the physical releases, get that. If you go into like regular record stores, you're not going to find city pop releases. This is you can see just the Japanese characters here. You're not going to find that stuff. So I went to a record store that really specialized in city pop releases, and it was like being a kid in the candy store. It's not something you're going to find everywhere, but if you can pick this album up or if you can listen to it in some capacity, it is just absolutely beautiful. You're going to be stunned if you are a future funk fan how often this is sampled, but even on its own, the emotion in the music, even if you don't speak Japanese, I don't speak Japanese, just like Japanese stuff, is really, really powerful. So Tatsuro Yamashita, For You, high recommend, very important record to me. It is maybe the city pop record, and it is featured on the wall of trinkets. So with that, thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans. Please like the video, leave a comment letting me know what card you want to see featured next week viewer card of the week. If you don't have a card, please just leave a comment rambling about whatever. I'll reply, engage with all comments as long as you're not being rude or outright trolling me. I've been Kicker of Elves. Thank you so much for watching episode 3 of Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.